Welcome to the Your Next Move podcast with Kimberly Brown. Today, we are going to talk about perfection and diligence because they're a little bit different. As a new member to any team, there's always a little bit of hesitancy when you're thinking about what is your manager actually going to be like and what are their expectations going to be. If I'm candid, when I'm asked what type of leader that I am, I say things like, I like to hire smart people. Like I want people who can do the job. I don't necessarily like to train people. I highly prefer that there's a base level of knowledge on how to do the job. I like quick starts and people who take action. If you get assigned task A and you know that there's a B that comes next, I expect you to do A and B because you knew it already. Don't ask to be assigned B. I also don't like to check work on a regular basis. When I ask for something to be done, I expect for it to be done. And maybe it's a month later when I go and I need whatever it is, I like to get there and see that it's done. So this may sound like I may be a bit of a nightmare to work for. I promise you I'm not that bad. But I'm also always available for questions. I only get upset when there are questions that are asked that could have been Googled or a little bit of research or going through an email. So not necessarily stupid questions because I do believe there are no stupid questions, but I want to see that you are diligent in finding the information that's needed to do your job. And I'm also always excited about upward mobility. I'm excited about upward mobility before I even know that you can do your job. I already see where I want you to be in 1 year, 5 years, etc. if you stay with the company. I've always been that manager who advocates for my team. Always. And I probably have gone a bit too hard in the past, making sure that people have what they need. I've done as much as gone to my leadership and said, if we don't promote them, if we don't give them the money that they need, I'm gonna help them find another job because clearly they aren't valued here whenever I didn't have the actual power to increase someone's salary or promote them how they needed to be promoted. When I describe my working style, I sometimes feel like I'm putting a lot of pressure on my team. And I feel that way. But for me, it's never really about perfection. It's about being diligent. Diligent is completely different. The definition of diligence is careful and persistent work or effort. And that's what's generally required from employees. And it may feel like a standard that's too high or that manager wants perfection. However, it's really about diligence. When we think about diligence, this is double checking the communication for typos, remembering something that has to be approved before sharing it, preemptively contacting another team to flag something new that's happening, getting a head start on projects before you're being asked to do them, formatting a memo so it's ready for print versus edits that still need to be made that could have quickly already been fixed, considering multiple outcomes when presenting an idea, and bringing a problem to your boss, but also bringing a solution. This is diligence. You could also say that this is thinking before acting or working. If you're being able to interpret needs before a situation calls for actions to be needed or actions to be taken, that's diligence. And I know that this isn't just me. When I talk to my clients, when I talk to other managers, it's not that everything has to be done perfectly. It's about having the foresight, the fortitude, the interest in being diligent about every task that you're doing in the workplace. And if you're looking to be promoted and seen as a leader, interpreting needs is key. It is absolutely positively key. You need to not only understand your point of view, but your boss's point of view, and maybe even their manager too. As an entrepreneur, I do a lot of consulting engagement. So I don't talk about it a lot here, but I'm the founder of a leadership development company where I go into other organizations and do consulting. So sometimes that consulting could be doing a workshop, a training. Sometimes it could be a breakdown of a process for the organization or building out a strategy. And one of the things I learned early on is that you think my client would just be the person who hired me or just the manager. However, my client is not only the audience who I'm working with, the person or stakeholder who brought me on, but it's their manager and their manager's manager, because I'm essentially a reflection of the person who brought me in to do that job. And if I want to have more work, I have to think about the chain of command and who I'm influencing and who I'm working with. So when you think about your work and your tasks every single day, who do those tasks impact? And after that, who do they also impact? So how can you be diligent for multiple people in the chain of command? Again, it's not about perfection. It's about the diligence of thinking ahead and how your work impacts other people across the organization. And the same goes for you. I want you to ask yourself, how does your project touch everyone else's? Sure, this sounds great, but does it hit your objectives, your boss's objectives, and your boss's expectations? This is where diligence comes in. Today, this episode is a little bit short because I really want you to just think a little bit more deeply about your role and what you're doing every single day. And when I do episodes like this, sometimes I feel like I'm beating a dead horse or I'm talking about things that people should already know. But every single day as a manager running a company, thinking about my work in corporate America, every time I think that something is simple and folks should know it, it's not. And I'm sure a lot of the managers are listening right now saying, yep, my team does that. My team does that. So that's why I think it's important to think about it. And especially on my podcast is called Your Next Move. When you're looking to make your next move, there is a higher standard of excellence that's required. You have to master where you are before you could think about being catapulted to where you'd like to go. Sure, some people skip the line and they get up there, but I promise you, many times they're unprepared for that work because they weren't diligent in mastering where they are. So rather, if you're a manager or whether you are an individual contributor, I invite you to think about diligence. How are you being diligent in your day-to-day work? And think about excellence in the workplace isn't just about getting promoted. It's also for you. It's also so you have a firm ground to stand on and be proud of the work that you're doing every single day. So with that, y'all, may your next move be your very best move. I'll talk to y'all soon. Thank you so much for tuning in this week to the Your Next Move podcast. Don't forget to share this episode with a colleague or friend so we can all level up together. If you enjoyed today's episode, please write a review wherever you listen to podcasts. And lastly, if you're looking to join a community of thriving professionals, I invite you to join the Next Move Best Move community, my private community of professionals that includes the Manifest Yourself signature leadership development courses, monthly lunch and learns, and more. For more information, please go to kimberlybeonline.com/community. Until next week, remember to make your next move your very best move.